I am Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is the handover of the Adria Matrix Supreme 670D. So to hook the vehicle up, whether you charge it at home or you charge it on a site, using the habitation key, you'll unlock all your external lockers on this vehicle. But if you open the door, the hookup point is inside the locker. So to hook the vehicle up, get your hookup blade, take the cover off and expose the connection, pop it on, lift this tab up on the grommet, feed the wire into the hole, and that means you can shut the door. But you've also got a connection for an outside telly, so whether you want to connect, if you want to connect your telly and watch it outside, you've got two aerial connections which are F connections, so you will need an adapter if you standard coax, 12 volt and two USBs. But like I was saying, pop that in there and then you can shut the door, lock it, and your hookup blade's nice and safe and secure inside the vehicle. On the back of this vehicle you do have a garage. So in the garage you do have two 30 volt when hooked up, 12 volt, external shower, hot and cold. Obviously you will have to have the boiler on first to use the hot water, but make sure the pump's on to get a pressurised flow of water to hose the dog off, the bikes, the boots, carpets, your backs for your lift up travelling seats, full size spare wheel, on and winding handle. There's a few extras on this such as the garage carry cargo, which has been put on for this customer, and the ramps to get in the wheelchair and things on this van, which have been fitted here. Again, not standard from Adria, we fitted them for this particular customer. Tethering rails which can be moved to tie your load down. Garage light, and in here you've got your toolkit which includes a jack, a brace and a tow eye, so everything you need to either be towed off the road or change your wheel lives in here. On the back of the van you've got your high level brake light, your reversing camera, your bike rack, which is where the back panel has been strengthened to take two rails on the back, and on the bottom you've got 4 parking sensors which work when you put the vehicle in reverse, along with the reversing camera on the top of the van there. Below the garage on the passenger side of the vehicle you have your wastewater outlet point, and this is controlled by an electronic switch beside the passenger door, just beside the seat belt there. So this allows the water out that you've used, such as your dishes water, your hand basin water, your shower room water, cups of tea, anything that you put down a plug hole basically. On the way out of the site, drive over the grid, press that switch, deposit the water, makes you lighter on payload and better on fuel, because you don't want to be lugging around a tank full of dirty water with you. So this is where the dirty water would come from, and on some sites you drive over the grid, and some sites you've got to get as close to the verge as possible to allow this water out. Make sure you leave it open when you drive back, and it'll rock any loose water out when you're driving down the road. So to operate your cassette toilet, again opens with a habitation key, press the button in and drop the door. Then to remove the cartridge from the side of the van, you pop your hands under the orange handle, lift it up and slide the cassette out. Once the cassette's out, you can either hold it or you can wheel it if it's too heavy. And you will wheel it to the Elson point, which is your chemical toilet disposal point on site, which is normally beside your toilet block and shower room block. To remove the waste, you unscrew the grey cap here and pop that to the side. Start to pour the contents out of the toilet, and as you're pouring the contents out of the toilet, press the orange button in, and it allows a bit of air in and stops it glugging and gives it a consistent flow. Once you've emptied it, there's normally a fresh water tap there. Put a bit of water in, give it a rinse, tip out again before going in with a cap full of chemical, which is 120 ml. It can either be green or it can be blue, depending on what the site prefer you to use. The green's a little bit more environmentally friendly. The cap falls straight into here. Once it's in the van, once it's in the cassette, push this straight back into the van, and then you're good to go to use the cassette. Make sure that you don't use any thick branded toilet paper such as Cashel, Andrex, things like that, because it'll swell up and it'll block the flow out of the toilet. So use your cheaper alternatives or your Fetford toilet rolls, because they don't swell up when they're in the water with the chemical, and they'll break down. The LPG locker can fit 2 bottles in there. So I've got my test bottle on at the moment, which is 1 6 kilogram propane. The motorhome runs off propane. You can fit a 6 in, and you can fit a bigger one, a 13 in, or 2 6s. It's entirely up to you what you run with. Once you get the bottle on board, you want to strap it top and bottom, and then you want to use a gas spanner or an adjustable wrench and connect the pigtail, which runs from the regulator to the bottle. Left to tighten, right to loosen, opposite ways with it being gas. Do it with your hands first, then use the gas spanner or adjustable wrench and nip it up before turning the cylinder on at the top. Once you've turned it on at the top 1 or 2 turns, press this black stopper in. This is a safety valve that allows the gas to come from the bottle into the pigtail and into the regulator. Make sure that this yellow nib is flush and not popped out, because if it's popped out, it's a crash valve. Press and hold for 10 seconds, and what that'll do is it will reset the crash valve. But there's a sticker on that here, but make sure you turn the bottle off before you drive off, so you're safer for you and other road users. Once one bottle's empty, you can disconnect the pigtail and put on your reserve should you be carrying a spare. This is your flue for your Alde system, so this will allow the fumes out when operating on gas. This is a 12 volt pump point, so you get a submersible pump with the vehicle. If you are nowhere near a hose, what you can do is you can remove this cover. It's got a power point there for a wheel submersible pump if you need to. However, you would just normally fill the water supply of the vehicle up with a hose pipe. So put your hose into here, wait until it overflows, or until you look on board your control panel and see how much water is on board. Should you not be able to get near a hose and you can bring a bucket of water back, you can use the pump, which is this side, and pump it into here. But that's how you'd fill your fresh water, with a hose pipe. At the passenger door, you'll find the location of your diesel filler, which opens with the main ignition key. And underneath there, you do have your AdBlue fill-up point. The AdBlue on a Fiat is 19 litres. It'll do 5,500 miles on a full 19 litres. Once it gets to around, once you've covered 4,500 miles, it'll come with a warning of 1,000 mile countdown. And it normally takes anywhere between 12 and 15 litres to fill it back up. So it's a lot easier and a lot cheaper buying it on the pump at a petrol station rather than in the drums, because in the drums you'll pay £30 for 10 litres, whereas on the pump you'll pay about £1.20 a litre. So look for your bigger stations that accommodate wagons and buses, and you'll be able to buy it on the pump, and it'll be far more cost effective than buying it in the drum. But it'll tell you when it needs it, and it might just be one job that you do a year, depending on how many miles you're going to cover in the motorhome. Tyre pressures can be found on the slam panel of the passenger door, so it gives you a tyre size up here. It tells you that the 5.5 bar, which is 79.5 psi front and back. To empty your wastewater, like I was saying, there's a switch, which is just here. So you've got a 3-position switch. So you've got open at the bottom, you've got in the middle, open, no strain on the valve. So when traveling and you want to leave it open to rock the water out, put it in the middle position, and then when you want to close it to use the vehicle, fill the freshwater tank, put in the top position, and you'll hear the valve close. And it's a 3-position switch, so it just works closed, no strain, open. Underneath the floor in the Fiat is where your car battery is, your engine battery. So if you ever need to get to this, you need to remove this panel here, as it's not underneath the bonnet, it's underneath the cab floor. Underneath the bonnet, you do have your engine oil fill up. There is no dipstick, it's electronic on the new Fiat. You've got your brake fluid and you've got your coolant, which can be filled through lifting this panel off. In the corner is your screen wash, which is the main fluid you're going to need. You've got an earthen point here for giving or receiving a jump start, and then located just down beside the passenger headlight. You've got your air filter, but if you use your key or something flat and pop it in this, lift this back, you've got your positive for giving or receiving a jump start. You've also got your unique weight plate, so this is 3650, requires a C1 license to drive this one, and then you've got a train weight if you were to put a tow bar on of 5,600 kilograms. Front and back axle weights can be found at the bottom. So to operate the control panel once you're on board the vehicle, around the outside of the panel, top and bottom, it tells you all your options. So I'll go through those first. So it tells you that the outside air temperature is 12 degrees. The inside of the vehicle is currently reading 13 degrees. Your on means hookup. Your awning light is on. You're charging the leisure battery as it shows the battery at the back of the vehicle. So that's a leisure battery getting charged by mains to 30 volt. You've got 50% of fresh water in your main fresh tank. Zero waste, and your pump is on. Now to operate it, you just press the buttons around the outside. So you've got a master switch, which is your on and off main power button. This will turn on your 12 volt system. Obviously, if you are hooked up to mains 230 volt, you will get mains power to power mains appliances and use 3-pin plugs throughout the van. You've got your battery reading. So if you press there, you can scroll between the two batteries, so you can see that the carb battery is 12.6 volts and the leisure battery is 14.7 plus 3.67 amps coming in. That is because we're hooked up. Take the hookup out to get a true reading of your leisure batteries, because this is a false reading because the vehicle is on charge. Water, so 50% fresh, zero waste. Put your back button there. Lights, so you've got this one here, which is your main master switch for your lights on board the vehicle. So you need to turn that on to then turn the switches on around the inside of the van. And this one being your awning light, which is a light on the outside of the motorhome. So if you're sitting under the canopy or you're going on a walk, you might want to put your light on so that if you're coming back, it's a bit dusk there, you can find your vehicle. Temperatures, 14 inside, 12 outside. Settings, so you do your time, your date through here, your screen brightness, your batteries and so on. So you can change what battery, but it's currently on an AGM battery. So if you change the batteries to lithium or anything, you need to change it there, but if you're not bothered, just leave it as it is. Here you've got your pump, so you've got your on-off switch for your pump. Make sure your pump's only on when you've got sufficient water on board. Without the pump, you don't want to burn the pump out with no water being on. So to operate your Alde control panel, so to start the panel up, you need to press the on button, and then you'll get the green light. This tells you the temperature scale, so you've got a plus and a minus, so you can adjust the temperature that you want the inside of the vehicle to be, and that is where it's saying 29 degrees. So we've selected 29 degrees to get the vehicle warm. Above, which is saying 17 degrees, is a temperature that it's currently reading inside of the vehicle at present. And then below here is the outside temperature. So where it's got the picture of the little tree there, 11 degrees, that's the outside air temperature. You always need to have it above the outside air temperature. So in the summer, if it's 20 degrees outside, select the heating to 22 or 23 degrees, and then that will give a little bit of a difference, but you probably won't be using it then anyway. Press menu. It tells you that the inside temperature is 17, outside's 11, like I've explained. The fan is on circulation, so it's currently on. It's connected to mains, which is in the top left hand corner, and you've got your time in the top right. Now which energy source you want to use, you'd press energy. It's telling you that it's currently selected on 2 kilowatts of mains electric. You can choose between not having it on electric, having it on 1 kilowatt, which is 750 watts, 2, which is about 1800 watts, and 3, which is 3000 watts. So that all depends on the amperage of your site, which depends what you use. But mainly on most sites throughout the UK, you would use 2 kilowatts. And then if you weren't hooked up, you can turn your gas on, which is just here, which you'd use if you were wild camping. However, in the winter when it's really cold, you might want to use electric and gas together for the first 20 minutes to bring the vehicle to temperature before turning the gas off. You can turn on high altitude mode, which is only for use at altitudes above 1000 meters. So if you are abroad or you go to Switzerland or anywhere like that, you can turn that on. It'll always prioritize electric, so when hooked up it'll always prioritize mains rather than gas. And the hot water, which is just here, you can turn off, on or boost. Boost is a 30-minute setting, so if I put that on there, it says 30 minutes left of boost, and it'll put all the power to the hot water for half an hour, and then what it'll do is it'll allow the heating to come back on, but it does turn the heating off to prioritize the hot water. So if you want it to run together, just put that to on. In the settings here, you can set day and night mode. Day and night mode are just modes that you can select the temperature. So if you click night mode, it tells you what day you want it to run, when you want it to start, when you want it to end, what temperature you want it to inside, but you turn that on there. It also works the AC through here, so if the vehicle's fitted with aircon, which this particular vehicle is, you'll be able to use your air conditioning on a night. You've got AC there as well to turn it on and off, but it does have a separate remote, as this one has been opted with an air conditioning. But if you're watching this and it's a generic video, just make sure that you either know that the vehicle's got air conditioning or it doesn't. And you can also set a day mode as well. So say on a night time you want it to be no warmer than 15 degrees inside the van, but during the day you want it to be 23 degrees inside the van. There's a difference, so you can set it so that it ends and it'll then cool down, and it'll just maintain the temperature during the night for you. But that's between the night, it can be found in the menu, in the night and the day mode. To operate your FedFit fridge, so your on off button is the far left hand button, which you can turn off the fridge, and you can turn the fridge back on. So when storing, you'd obviously have it turned off and the door open. So on the door, you've got this little blue catch, which you'd pop in the middle there of the hinge, and just rest the door. Don't shut the door with any force, and that'll just mean that the airtight rubber seal doesn't trap the air in, and it allows air to circulate in and out the fridge when you're storing it to avoid smells. But to operate, so once you've turned it on, if you press the square button here, you'll notice that A stays lit up, and there's a picture of a plug, a mains plug. That means that the fridge is operating on mains electric. So there's 3 sources the fridge can operate on: 240 volt gas, or 12 volt when the engine is running. It's not a feed off the leisure battery, it's physically when the engine's started, it sends a 12 volt feed from the alternator to the fridge, which just keeps it at the temperature it was previously at. So it's going to be pre-chilled beforehand on either the driveway at home, or if you've gone from one site to the next site and it's a little drive, you can just pop it onto battery and it will keep your shopping nice and fresh. But automatic energy selection will do it all for you. So the brain of the fridge will pick out the best source available to the fridge, and it will always prioritize mains first. So when A is lit up, you don't need to do anything. So if I was to physically go outside and unhook the van and I had a gas bottle on, it would switch over to gas and self-ignite. If I was to put the key in the ignition there and start the engine, it would switch over to battery. It'll do it all for you on automatic. The only time you'll have to change it on automatic is once you've knocked the engine off and you're going on to gas and you've not hooked up, so you've knocked the engine off, you've turned the bottle on, it waits 20 minutes before lighting on gas. This is a safety feature in case you've left your gas bottle open. The last thing it wants to do is for it to light on gas when you're filling in a petrol forecourt. So it waits 20 minutes before lighting on gas. So the way to override this is you press and hold the square button and you would just use the arrows, and you've got mains, battery or gas, and you would select. This is your temperature, so you can adjust the temperature. So 5 when pre-chilling, and in the summer. In the winter you may want to turn it down just so it doesn't freeze the shopping, and you'd press enter. But normally you would just leave it on automatic, which is the A, and it will do its own thing. So now in the kitchen, you do have 3 gas burner hob. Make sure the glass lid is pushed back when using, and make sure it's cool enough before you pull it down. But as you can see there, the gas is lighting. So you've got 3 lit gas rings. Making sure that the pump's on, you'll get a pressurised flow of water. That's warming up there. Underneath, just above the oven, if you push this panel in, you do have your gas isolation valve taps. You've got 4. So you've got the hob, you've got the oven, the hob, the fridge, and the water heater and heating system. If there's any problems with gas, turn the main bottle off to be safe. These are mainly for when the vehicle is annually habitation serviced. But should you think a appliance is leaking gas, you can turn it off. So, or you've got any troubles with one, to isolate the source of gas, this is shut, they're open. But just make sure they're all open and you haven't knocked them or closed them, and you're struggling to get any gas through any appliances. Below you have your Thetford grill. So there's your grill lit, and underneath you've got the oven. If you ever need any parts for the oven and grill, there's a sticker here on the side which gives you all the information you need to pass over to a caravan and motorhome dealership to order the parts. Storage in the bottom drawer. Storage, make sure you push the catches in to lock them into place. Underneath the overhead locker you do have 2 230-volt sockets which will work when hooked up. A light around the window, which is this one here. An extractor fan, and then you do have your main under counter lights which has 2 settings. Pushing the cabinets in, which are on gas struts. You do have some storage, but this is the main 230-volt isolation fuse spur for the air conditioning unit. So that needs to be turned on before you can use your aircon unit, and it only works on mains 230-volt. So when not hooked up, the air conditioning unit won't work. And this is just showing that your water pressure is working and your hot water is working, as this water is up to temperature. So to use the Truma Aventa aircon, point the remote to the black magic eye here. Give it a moment. There you are, it came on. And if you click mode, you've got various different modes which comes down the left hand side of the remote. So you've got cooling, heating, auto and recirculation. So cooling, you've got your temperature this side, goes as low as 16 degrees. You can use it for heating, so the next one would be heating, press mode. But it does take time to switch over from cooling to heating. So there it's turned itself off, and then all of a sudden it's going to slowly start heating the vehicle off the aircon. It can't just go from being on a cycle of cooling to heating because it'll crack the header tank in the aircon unit, so it will slowly slow itself down and then bring itself back to heating. You've got your fan here, so one or full, so if you're sleeping you may want to put it on one, but when you're during the day you might want to have it on full. It's up to you. On off's in the centre. You can press the light button here, it turns the lights on round the surround. You press the spanner here to resync the remote with the aircon if you haven't used it in a while, and you get a flashing spanner up on the top of the remote there. And you can select timers on here by setting them, or you can just turn it on and off manually. But you can leave the lights on without the aircon or the heating function on, so you can get a bit of ambient lighting within the vehicle. But that's how you'd work your true matter vent aircon, and again, you need to be hooked up to mains 230 volt for this to work. Across from the shower you do have your toilet, so the toilet door can be used as a toilet door or the bedroom door, depending if you've got guests in the front or if you're just wanting it used as the back bedroom door. Make sure that you press the blue button. You'll get some fresh water flush. Flush the toilet first, put a small amount of water in, and then before you think of using it, grey lever, slide to the right, get rid of the water, use the toilet, everything goes into the cassette, flush again, and close it back to the left. If you've bought the blue and the pink Thetford chemicals, the blue obviously goes into the cassette, the pink would go into a header tank if this motorhome had a header tank. This motorhome doesn't. It's from the freshwater tank. So what I would do is put a small amount of pink in a spray bottle, spray the bowl. So you dilute that with water, spray the bowl, and then flush and close the blade. Does the same job, just you're not getting it from a separate tank, you're putting it in with a spray gun. Toiletry cabinet. When the toilet's full, you'll get 3 green lights underneath the diagram of the toilet. Bathroom light, one for the mirror, one for the ceiling lights. Water there, you've got a hot push plug, and your water there is red hot, so that water is hot, so your hot water system's working. To one side you do have your shower, so you've got a hanging rail in the shower which works great for towels if you've had a shower, or even better if you put a couple of hangers on there, and if you've been caught out in the rain, let your coats drip dry, and then they're not going to wet anything because they're going to go straight down the drainage points, and you can let them dry in here without anywhere getting wet. Or if you're struggling for wardrobe space and you're going on a bigger trip, you can put your hangers on there and utilise this as a wardrobe when travelling, because a lot of people use site facility showers instead of their own, but it's entirely up to yourself. But always make sure that when you are winterising the van, you disconnect the shower head from the pipe, take the pipe off the shower head holder and lie it down with the mixer tap open, because you don't want any water to sit in here and potentially freeze. So make sure you lie that down and any water is given the chance to drain away. You'll be wondering where the lights are for the shower, and it's just behind here. So you can turn the light switch on and you've got space. In the back of the van there's a plastic tray, and you might think, what's it for? And it sits here. It's not fitted, it just sits here, and it means you can put your shampoo and things on top of the wheel arch well. And you do have a skylight which you push the button, pull the bar back to open, or you can click it into the little grooves to leave it open for a bit of ventilation in the summer once you've used the shower. But always make sure all your skylights and windows are closed before you start travelling. Blackout blind for on a night, and a fly screen for when you've got it open. So in the wardrobe you've got your Alde expansion tank. So the expansion tank houses your coolant. So because it's more of a central heating system and it's like home, at home you've got water running through your pipes. in the motorhome you have antifreeze running through the pipes, because if you had water running through the pipes you would have to drain it down for the winter, whereas the antifreeze won't freeze. So that can stay in the tank. It's always best to run the system up before you think about topping it up, because it does expand. So you might think, oh, that's showing minimum when it's off. As soon as it starts bubbling, it could be near enough maximum, and you're going to top that up, you're going to take it above that. But should you need to, there's a breather pipe at the top. If you pop your hand above the cover, there's a little cap which you can top it up, so you can mix your antifreeze, which is G13. So Alde recommend their own and 6 other brands which you can use, and you can top that up. It has a 5-year lifespan, so this vehicle's brand new in 2023. So in 2028 they would recommend that no later than 2028 the antifreeze was changed, because the antifreeze will start to break down because it's boiling and it's cooling, so it's going to lose its antifreeze properties and potentially get water mixed in there, which is not what it wants. But over that 5-year lifespan they would want to change, so change that every 5 years and you should have great antifreeze properties. So this is your freshwater tank. So if you turn your hatch in the floor over, it's got a sticker and it tells you how to drain your freshwater tank down. So it holds 120 litres, but if you turn it 3/4 of the way it will drop everything but 20 litres. 20 litres is kind of like a travelling mode, so if you're going to a site, only tend to travel with 20 litres. It means that you can still use your own toilet, still stop and have a cup of tea, make some food if you want with some water, but it means that you're not heavy, so it means that you're using less diesel. You've got more space for your own bits and pieces and payload, and you're not going to be running overweight. However, if you turn it all away, it drains it to empty, which you'll want to do in the winter to avoid the water from freezing. So this little wheel is this valve here. So turn it all away, and you'll hear the water drain out. Turn it clockwise till it can't turn anymore, to close it when you're ready to refill it. If you ever want to put any cleaner direct into the tank, you can here by just unscrewing it. This is your fresh water tank, and this here is just your probes, which gives you a reading on your control panel of how full your fresh water tank is. But it's very important in the winter you drain it down so the water can't freeze in the freshwater tank, or if you've taken on a source of contaminated water, you'd let all the water out.